Alright, so we're going to build the Formula Racer. As usual, I've got a piece of scrap I'm going to cut on. Whenever you make a vehicle, you always have to start with the size of your tire because that will determine how big your car is. So let's first start by making kind of a bigger fat tire, back tire. Let's say it's about this long. Just looking at the drawing. Now the front tire on a car is usually smaller. So I'm just going to make this offset a little bit and then cut that. So now we have our front and back tire. We will use the templates to cut the others. Let's take the small drill bit. We have to put the axle hole through the tire now. So if you take the drill, put it in the center, and back and forth with little cuts, but stop halfway, pull it out, flip it over, start in the center again, as best you can, small cuts. Now when it pops out, that's pretty centered. It's going to look good. Now I'm going to do the same to all 4 other tires. Okay, so now we have our tires cut. Let's take an axle and let's just thread on the 2 back tires and just leave them together for now. Don't cut that off, and do the same for the front tires. That just gives us some place to start. Now you can decide whether you want the axle to hang out or be stuck in. It just gives it 2 different looks if it's inside or outside. That's a personal choice. You decide. Use your artistic abilities. Okay, so now that we have that, we can kind of figure out about the size we want our car to be. So, the next step is, let's take a piece and make the side body parts to the car. I'm going to start by saying I think the entire car is going to be this long. Now it's always better to cut too long, so I'll add a little bit more and we'll cut here. Now I know that the 2 body pieces are mirror images and I don't think they're bigger than half, so I'm going to cut this in half, stack them on top of each other, and even put in 2 temporary nails to help me cut. If you can't hold this very well, a few nails work as long as the nail isn't in the way of where you want to cut. In fact, I'm going to move this because I think it will be. Alright, so as you can see from the drawing, you start and we want to cut an angle, not straight. We want to cut a long angle to our car. Okay, we've cut that, and then at the very front we're going to put a little chiseled nose on it. Okay, now that will help us give us a cool angle to the front of the car later when we put our front fin on. So now that I have my body parts cut, let's figure out where the axle holes are going to go. I may have to move my nails. So when we put this on, we're just going to say, I think this is going to look good for a car. So I will mark it with my finger, and it happens to be right where the nail is, so I'll pull it out. Keeping it close to the bottom, I'm going to drill through both pieces 1 hole. Alright, now that's my back. I won't assemble this yet, but you can see where the back tire is. Put this temporary nail back in. Now we'll go to the front of the vehicle. As it happens, it also is about where that nail is, so we'll pull that out. Remove the scrap. And now you cut your front axle hole. Okay, be careful that you make it through and you don't cut through the side. Now we can pull these apart and we've got something to start with. So I will, again, just to help figure out things, I'm going to put this on the side now. Now we know the distance here so that when we cut our other piece, it will fit. So we're going to have a little piece that goes in here. So what I will do is I will simply just look at it compared to there. Alright? And I think if we just cut this piece in half, that's going to be about just the right width, and now we've been nice and efficient with our material. So let's stack this, and as you see in the drawing, they give it a little bit of a bevel here, just for artistic reasons. And since I stacked them, they both came out the same. So now we want to attach this here. As you can see, that fits between the tires pretty well. So before this gets assembled, before all these other pieces get put on, Okay, so now I'm going to attach these two pieces to the sides. I'll nail those on in high speed so as to speed up the video. Okay, now we have our pieces. Final thing we have to do before we assemble the body is we have to make the rear fin. Now I just happen to have a piece of leftover from this project that I think will make a good rear tail fin. If you want to cut your own new piece, that's fine, but I think this will look fine. So you can come in here, put it like this, and the secret is we have to put a hole through this. So I'm going to actually cut it extra long. We will change it later. Come here, line it up while they're together. Okay? And then one last thing is we have to cut off this extra. Once you figure out what angle. I'm going to take my tire, thread it back through, alright? Then thread the other body side on. Alright, thread our other rear tire back on. And now we have the back width of our car. We can put the front tire on too. Now you want to keep this little space in here, so don't pull these together. Leave this parallel here. Let's slide on the other tire. Now that we have everything placed, now we can cut our axles because we know that they're the right length. If we would have cut them before, we might have guessed wrong. So, I just come in here. Okay. Okay. So, now we have the main body. So the next step is we'll make the driver compartment section. This piece is also very artistic in that you could make this pretty much any shape you want as long as it's a little bit wider than this. So I will come in here and say mark it about here. Okay, now we know that it'll fit. So this is where I'll just come in here and I say I think this is going to look better. I still think this is too wide. And then we can start putting our little angles on. As you notice, just to give it a little bit of shape. Okay? So there's other things that go in here, so before I finish everything, I think I'll just leave this like this now. Alright, so the next piece is we're going to add some little details. Get yourself a small square piece. Let's just cut one angle at one side. Doesn't really matter what it is. It just, you know, as long as you like the looks of it. And then the other one is at the same angle, but just a little bit further down, and we have to make sure it fits in here. Now, if you keep these like this is the same angle, so if you flip it over, lay them together, match the back angle, these two pieces will be the same. So now we're going to attach those here. Gives it a little bit of a angular body speed look. Couple of nails. I'm going to do one from the bottom just so it holds together well as well. Now it's extra sturdy. Line them up side to side and do the same. Now we have this on. Let's make the little roof details. You can have fun with this. Don't worry about following the instructions exactly. Enjoy yourself. This is supposed to be a fun toy. So for here, let's fold this over, and now when we cut this corner off here, turn it around, cut this corner off here, now we have a cool little wedge shape, and we can put that right here. Alright. And we need to make some fins for the back. So I'll do the same here, except we're going to actually cut this in half first. These fins will go back here. They look a little big, so I'm going to cut them down a hair. Okay. So I think we could put these on now. I think we're ready. Get yourself some big long nails. Go through the little piece, the fat piece, and be sure that you're going into this lower piece. Again, check everything before you nail. That way when you're done nailing, everything's lined up just the way you want it. And we'll just put in 2 small ones up here for looks. And then I'm going to put in 2 more big ones up here to hold the front together more sturdily. Okay, so we're getting there. So the next thing you want to do is we want to cut a little strip that goes from here, from the body up down to the nose piece. So we will simply line it up here so you can visually make sure it's the right size. Cut it. They also put a little detail on the front here, just to give it a little bit of shape. And we start with the small pieces. Oops, let's pull these nails out. That's what these are for. Now, so reinsert these nails here with that piece. Now when this wraps down, it looks more like a smooth body. But now we want to cut the front. And if this isn't wide enough, you can always use it sideways, but I think this will still be wide enough. Again, we'll do our fold. Cut it. Alright, so now we have this. So just come in here. Remember to try to keep these 2 pieces apart. If this is hard for you, just take a piece of scrap and stick it in here. That will help keep it apart. And now we want to attach this. I'm going to use screws because there's so many little pieces here that I think it'll be easier to use a screw than trying to hammer into all these little tiny pieces. So I'll start the one side, attach it, and then you can line everything else up. Once you have the one in, and then we'll move on to the other. Okay, so that's got the front of the vehicle now. That spacer fell out. That's okay though. Now all we have to do is put on this rear fin. Now I think that this is too high now that we have everything together. So I will say I think it should be about this high. Now as you notice, this is kind of pivoting, so we're going to put in 1 nail from each side in the back to hold that from pivoting. Okay, so now this won't pivot. Let's attach these first. So these are just for fun, so you can just go ahead and attach them quickly with little nails. Okay, and then lastly the big tail fin. If you look at the rear fin, you'll see that there's an interesting shape. So again, let's fold, cut 1 angle from the front, flip it over at the same angle from the back, and now we end up with this nice V shape again, which will look great back here. You know what, I think I've decided I want this to be at an angle, so I'm going to come in here and recut this. Sometimes you may have to stack up a couple pieces to cut. I'm going to recut this at a steeper angle. Now my vehicle will look like it's going faster. Since this is going to be hard to nail on, I will finish this last little piece up with 2 screws. Because I think hammering on here is going to be pretty wobbly. Okay. So there you are, folks. Here's the race car. Looking kind of speedy from the side. It's got its nice bumper up front, wind flaps, little body here. Looks fast. I just realized I missed something from the instructions. I missed the little jet engines on the back. So cut yourself 2 little round rods. Stick them in here. Actually, I'm going to stick them underneath. Alright, now we've got little rockets out the back that I forgot about the first time. Alright, now it's extra fast.